We all have regrets, those moments that keep us up at night, replaying our past decisions and mistakes. But what if I told you the cost of regret is much deeper than that? In this video, we're diving into the hidden impact of regret and how it shapes our lives in ways we never expected. This video breaks regret into two categories: healthy regret, which is something that's positive and we can have some growth out of it, and unhealthy regret. And at the end of this video, you're going to know the clear difference, and I'm also going to share with you something at the end that's going to blow your mind. So looking at unhealthy regret, the first thing you do is you ruminate over something and you play it in your mind over and over and over without a solution. That is completely unhealthy. You feel shame and guilt towards yourself, and you start tearing yourself down by beating yourself up by this mistake you made. In unhealthy regret, you have a cycle where you're harsh with yourself, you beat yourself up, you are critical, and you're just ruminating over that over and over again of the mistakes you made, what you did wrong, why you can't figure this out. So unhealthy regret leads to inaction, and it gets you stuck. Because when you start having these feelings, these thoughts ruminating in you, what you do is you just shut down and stop. And that's not helping you any way at all. So the side effect is you become less than you're capable of, and you start doubting yourself. Your doubt grows and gets stronger and bigger rather than confidence growing. So what's happening here is all these negative thoughts, all this ruminating over the past is making you feel less than. And then you become less capable and you doubt yourself, and it's just this negative spiral downwards. Next, what happens is you start blaming. You blame others, or more importantly, you blame yourself. And when you blame yourself, you're just eroding and tearing yourself down, because blame does not help you. Blame just makes you feel worse, and that builds up that inaction, that staying stuck. Now you're focusing on your character flaws, and you're making general statements like, "I'm such an idiot," or "Why do I always mess up?" You're taking this and you're generalizing it and having it apply to all the other areas of your life. So if you made a mistake in a relationship, now it's impacting your finances, your career, your other relationships. If you had a problem at work, it's spilling over at home. It's spilling over into your confidence and self-esteem. So you're allowing one area that you're not proud of, that you want to fix, and you're letting that spill over into everything and have you cause more inaction and being stuck. Unhealthy regret, you're holding on to grudges, pain, all that tension, and it's destroying you. Because it's such a heavy burden to carry all the time, day in and day out. Unhealthy regret also causes stress and anxiety, because when you deal with things in a way that is not supportive to you, there is a repercussion of that. And the repercussion in this case is stress, anxiety, tension, all those things that you probably want to avoid. Unhealthy regret has you impact your self-esteem, your self-worth, and you start doing things like procrastinating, self-sabotaging yourself, things that you could do better, but when you've got all this regret floating through you, it just feels like it just sabotages you and stops you, because you haven't learned how to take regret and switch it to the healthy side. So here what's happening is it's just literally stopping your feet. And the worse you feel about yourself, the worse you're going to do. And you're going to start having it impact all your other areas that I talked about before in your whole wheel of life. It's going to impact your relationships, your finance, all these things, because you do not feel worthy of that. If you don't feel worthy of something, you're going to go back to that level. If I set my air conditioner or heater to 70 degrees and the house gets warmer than that, it's going to cool it down. If it gets colder than that, it's going to heat it up. The only way I can change something is by changing the thermostat, because then it's automatically set. So if your thermostat is set low for your self-worth, or you beat yourself up with regret and these kinds of things, and you lower your thermostat temperature, you might have a big day. You might have some excitement at one time, but then you're going to self-sabotage because it's going to feel so uncomfortable, and that thermostat in your mind, in your body of who you are, then you're going to go down to a lower temperature. And the high temperature is going to feel like, wow, that was weird. That was not me. And so this regret can impact you in ways that you're not even realizing right now. Here, you're focusing on the past and you're focusing on being stuck. Both of those do not help you. And the more you focus on the problem, the more you focus on the past and the mistakes and the pain, that's exactly what you feel, is more of the pain. And there is a better way. So let's look at, instead of staying stuck and having unhealthy ways of dealing with regret, let's look at a positive, healthy way to deal with regret. Healthy regret starts out by reflecting on it and you noticing what went on here, taking a real look at the truth, not seeing it for worse than it is or better than it is, but how it actually is. And that might seem super easy to see the truth, but we have a long history and a habit of making something worse, making something bigger than it is, especially if it's something important. So notice your pattern here, and can I see the truth, see what's going on, rather than just saying, oh, here I go again, and taking something and seeing it for worse than it is. Okay, so now you've seen the truth, you've seen what's going on, and now can you get the lesson from it? That's the big key here, because it doesn't make any sense to have a mistake and then repeat it, ruminate on it, and all that. But if you can get the lesson, like, what was the lesson here? What was I supposed to get out of this? And then you can make some changes moving forward. That is huge. Now you're not staying in the past. You're not staying stuck. You're going to be able to take action because you figured out, oh, this is the lesson. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this can actually be exciting if you use it as a catalyst for growth. You could say, wow, this happened, but just how, like, you might break your arm, you don't think about that forever. Or if you have a scab or a scrape, you don't keep picking at it forever. You let it heal up. And the same thing here is you can take something and you can heal it. And I know for me, like when I broke my wrist, the doctor said that's actually going to be a stronger part of your body now. And the same can be for you. You can take something that was painful, that was a struggle, and you can transmute it, you can convert it into something positive that now serves you rather than hinders you and holds you back. But you've got to be able to see the lesson and use it as a catalyst for change. Next, what you need to do is have self-compassion. If you beat yourself up and are harsh on yourself here, it's going to make this way more difficult. But if you have self-compassion and some empathy for yourself, then it's easier to move forward because you're not beating yourself up. Instead, what you're saying is, I want to upgrade myself. Here is, like for me, let's say Bryan 2.0, and I want to go to Bryan 3.0. But if you beat yourself up and trash yourself, I'm going to go from Bryan 2.0 back down to Bryan 1.0, or I'm just going to stay stagnant at 2.0. So you cannot beat yourself up. You need to learn the lesson, make the changes, but stay positive with yourself and know that if I work with myself and I bring out the best in me, then I'm going to have the best results. I'm going to go a little deeper on this because sometimes I get some pushback from people and they say, well, if I'm not harsh on myself, if I'm not critical, if I'm not judgmental, then I'm not going to make the changes. And what I always come back with is something along this lines. If you wanted to get healthy, could you get sick enough to get healthy? No. If you wanted to get rich, could you get poor enough to get rich? No. So why do we understand that on this level, but when it comes to ourselves, we think for some reason we need to be harsh on ourselves, we need to beat ourselves up, but the truth is you need to love and accept yourself, and the better you can do that, the more you can embrace that, the easier it's going to be for you to make the changes that you're seeking and not let regret just dominate you. On the unhealthy regret, we looked at blaming. So healthy regret, the opposite of that, is taking responsibility. realizing your part in this, taking ownership of it, and again, seeing it for what it is, not more than what it is. Because I've been around some people and they take the blame for everything. If something didn't happen right, oh, that was my fault, or this. And I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about taking responsibility for everything and being a martyr or something. What I'm talking about is you looking at the truth, not seeing it worse than it is or better than it is, but how it really is, and then saying, okay, what was my role in this and what do I need to do? One of the big things you can do is make some I statements. And these I statements, when it's unhealthy, you're saying things such as, I'm an idiot, I'm always messing up. But in this case, what you're saying is, I can solve this. I believe in my ability to figure this out. I can improve this. I made a mistake and I'm willing to do what it takes to solve this. Those types of statements are so much more supportive, positive, encouraging, and it's going to help you be able to take regret and turn it into something positive rather than something that holds you back. A key point of healthy regret is it's focused on solutions and it's focused on the future. So if you are ruminating on the past, you're ruminating on the problem, you are in unhealthy regret. If, however, you have switched to solutions, you switch to the future, you switch to what can I do, what actions can I take, how can I resolve this, then you're moving towards positive, healthy regret. And that's important because that's how you learn and grow. All right, let's look at this chart and look at the subtle differences between unhealthy regret and healthy regret. With unhealthy regret, self-blame dwells on negative emotions. 2, you're generalizing how you are a failure, bad, those types of things, not just in this one area, as I mentioned before, but in all areas of your life. And self-blame fixates on past failures and mistakes. You stay in the problem. And lastly, you are harsh, critical, and judgmental toward yourself, especially when it comes to your self-talk. Now, if we look at healthy regret, you acknowledge the emotions, but you focus on the actions. So you might be frustrated, angry, disappointed, whatever it might be, but still you're focusing on the actions I can take because you can act your way into feeling. They've done studies where people, and they smiled, which I haven't done a lot in this video and I probably need to improve on, but they've done studies where people smile, and the more they smile, the better they feel. But some people just refuse to smile. So if you don't take the actions, you're not going to get the feelings that you want. Other subtle differences are you look forward to improving, you seek solutions, and you have constructive self-talk. It's almost as if you are coaching yourself. Think of the best coach you could imagine, and if they were there inside your head coaching you, that's the kind of advantage you could get with constructive, healthy, positive, supportive self-talk. The beautiful thing about healthy regret is if you have switched over to that side, it actually can help you release it and let go of it and lighten your burden because you do not need to carry that around. If you are carrying burdens around and all that, just imagine you got some big backpack full of rocks around you and you're carrying that around everywhere, and then you have more regrets and more burdens and you put that on there. That's going to be painful. It's going to impact all of you. You're going to just feel worn out. And if someone says, hey, do you want to do this? You're going to be like, no, I'm tired. I've had enough today. Okay? But when you can take that backpack off and you can release all that, it's going to make you feel so much lighter. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I would wear weights around my waist and my ankles and stuff. And then when I would take those off and go play basketball, it felt like I could fly all over the place. And I was so light and free. And that is the same kind of feeling you can have when you can let go and release these heavy burdens that are just nagging at you. You're also going to like yourself better. When you face a challenge and you overcome it, there's something inside of you that just makes you feel like, dang, I like myself. This is good. Think of any great movie you can think of, and there's usually the character that has some kind of struggle or thing they're working through, and when they overcome that, They feel so much better. And you, as a moviegoer, you watch that and you like it. You're like, yeah, you're cheering for this guy or lady. The same can be for you. If you support yourself, if you realize, hey, I don't have to beat myself up. I can see the challenge here. I can overcome it. And by overcoming this regret, I can actually be a better person. I can be stronger and I can like myself even more. All right, let's put it all together and look at unhealthy regret, a quick recap so that you know what to do walking away from here. Number one, if you're having unhealthy regret, your self-talk has sweeping negative judgments about your character flaws. Number two, emotions of overwhelm and shame stop you. 3, you focus on your failures, your mistakes, your flaws, everything that went wrong. 4, you feel down, stuck, and hopeless, and this causes you to feel confused, so you take no action. Or when you do take action, it's negative or self-defeating action. 5, every time you make a mistake, it's yet more proof that you are inadequate and not enough. So that's clearly what you don't want to do. Now let's look at healthy regret and what you can do when you face regret. Number 1, self-talk is full of I statements of action. I can do this. I believe in my ability to figure this out. Number 2, your emotional state is motivated to change. So you're encouraging, you're upbeat, you're optimistic. 3, focus on how to improve. It's easy right here to get stuck in the past and stuck in why did this happen, why me, what's going on here, to try to sort all that out. That doesn't matter at this point. If you figured out, okay, this is what I'm regretting, this is the lesson of it, this is what I needed to learn, now I need to take action. This is action. Don't just keep looping back through, oh, I need to think about this more, I need to study this more. No, you need to go out and take action and resolve this. And that's number 4. Take action until you find a solution. I've talked in other videos when I asked people, what did you do? And they said, oh, I tried all these things. And every time it is basically they tried 1 or 2 things. I rarely find the person that finds a solution that says, I tried dozens of things. You know what? I didn't stop until I did find a solution. Most of us, though, we stop after 1, 2, maybe 3 things we give up. And if you just push past that and keep trying, ask someone else, hey, what would you do? Think about it more. Do some downloading, maybe do some prayers, do some reading, something. The solution will come to you, but you have to pursue it. You can't just say, I tried once. If you had a baby and it did not walk, do you just say, well, I tried once or twice and it didn't make it? No, you let it have all the time at once, as many chances as it wants. And that should be the same for you. As many times as you need to try, as many chances as you need, give those to yourself, but do pursue them. Number 5, the next time you goof up or make a mistake, say to yourself, wow, it took me longer to get here this time. I'm doing a lot of things right. Remember, it's your perspective. How you see something is so critical. If you see this as a learning opportunity, wow, I'm getting the opportunity to learn and grow, that is so significant, versus seeing this as, wow, this is another chance to beat myself up, another chance to show that I'm wrong, another chance to feel like an idiot. Or you can say, this is another chance for me to learn and grow and improve and become the person I was designed to be. Another question on this is, how do I make amends? How do I fix this wrong and try to make it right? What do I do? And my thought is always this: figure out who you wronged, what mistake you made, how it impacted someone else, and literally ask them, hey, I made a mistake. I apologize. What can I do to try to fix this, to remedy this, to have some kind of resolution? Most people I've found, if you come with them with sincerity and honesty and truthfulness, they usually respond pretty positive. And what you think might have been like some huge mountain that you'd have to do, usually they want an apology. They want something to try to work this out. And if it's something where, let's say, you lost a bunch of money for someone, or you stole money, or something that is physical or financial, there is a way to repay that back. You can do that. But ask the person, because if the person that you wronged is feeling this anger towards you, or whatever they're feeling, it's your responsibility to ask them, what do you want? Because I know what I like, but I don't know what the other person likes. So see it from their point of view, see it from their eyes, and see, what can I do? Now, who is it that has the most regret with you? It's yourself. You have the most regret with yourself than you do anyone else. There might have been someone else that prompted some regret, and you took a different path. But when you're on that path, you're the one that has the most regret. You have the most regrets about yourself. So the person you need to forgive is often yourself. Because if you can't forgive yourself for past mistakes you made, it's going to be hard for you to move forward, because you have not just a bunch of little rocks, you have a massive big boulder on the back of you that you're trying to carry around when you can't forgive yourself. So think about, how can I forgive myself? What are there things that I've done that I'm holding on to that and it's unhealthy, and maybe I just need to forgive myself and ask for forgiveness. So far, we focused on one type of regret, the regret of making mistakes, making errors, blunders, messing something up, that type of a thing. But there's a bigger regret. And when I did the research for this video, I wanted to see beyond myself. And one thing that reminded me of something I'd studied many years ago and know is true, and that is, the biggest regret most people have are the things they never did, the person they never become. All that is so huge. So we think of regret as like a mistake or a blunder, but the bigger regret, the bigger one that really can haunt you, is the things that you never did. So the job you never took, the girl or guy you never went after, the career you didn't do, the business you wanted to start, whatever it is, the dream you had inside of you, that is the one that most of us, later in life especially, we regret. We're like, man, I had all these chances, all these opportunities, and I blew it. That is the regret that most people have. And so I want to look at that and look at what are the top regrets. And there's a bunch of them on this, the regrets of things that you omitted or didn't do, not to beat yourself up, but to have awareness. So you can say, oh man, I want to make sure I'm not falling into this trap, because we think the biggest regrets are what we see, like the blunder or the mistake, but those pale in comparison to these mistakes right here and these regrets we have. The biggest regrets people have, in no particular order, and these are things that they omitted or didn't do. Number one is not expressing your emotions, not telling people how much you love them and appreciate them and are grateful that they're in your life. That is a huge regret people have, especially later in life when they look back and they're like, man, I didn't tell my kids this, I didn't tell my spouse, I didn't tell my friends, I didn't tell people how much they meant to me, or maybe I only did it once a year. So that was a huge regret people had consistently. The second regret was not living true to oneself. You found that you had expectations from other people, desires from other people, people's opinions on what you should be and shouldn't be, and all this kind of stuff. And so what people find is that they had this regret because they weren't true to themselves. Like they knew in their heart, man, I had this dream, I had this desire, I wanted to do this, but I didn't go for it for whatever reason. And in this case here, you were listening to other people, their expectations, their beliefs about what was capable for you, what you could do. You let that cloud your whole judgment in how you acted. And that was a huge regret. That was number two, was letting other people's opinion of you decide the type of life you're going to live. Number three was not staying connected with people. Over your lifetime, you meet dozens of people, and there's a lot of them that you get close with. But for some reason, so many of us, we lose that connection. And I encourage you right now, is there someone you haven't spoken to for years, maybe decades, but they were important to you and they still are important? Have that conversation, call that person, and let them know, hey, you mean something to me. I appreciate being around you, seeing you. Because there was a Harvard study that started in the 1930s and it's still going around to today. And so it's had generations of people. And what they found was the number one determinant of a happy, fulfilling, successful life was the relationships you had. That accounted more than anything else. Because if you have the right relationships, then everything else kind of falls into place. If your relationships are not right, then all the other things just kind of feel hollow. So that was what the Harvard research showed, and I found that true too, is that relationships are so important. I know for me, I've had a lot of people I've known a long time, and I really value those relationships. So think about that for yourself. Who are people I need to reconnect with? Let them know I love and appreciate them, because it is such a good thing, not only for you, but for the other person. Number 4 was not taking enough risks. You simply stayed in your comfort zone and didn't stretch yourself and see what's possible. What can I grow into? What can I become? And instead you stayed in your comfort zone and then you limited yourself. Later on, when you look back on this, you regret it because you're like, man, I could have done this. This was possible. This could have happened. But instead, it never did. There's many more regrets, but we're just going to stop on number 5 here, and that is not taking care of your body. This includes mental as well as physical. So your emotional state, how are you feeling? How are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing things that support your mind, that support your body? Because if you do, then later on in life, you have the mobility, you have the ability to move around and do what you want to do. Otherwise, you get limited and get stuck. And so this was another regret people had, was just literally not taking care of their mental and physical health. We are statistically twice as likely to regret the things we don't do versus the mistakes and the blunders and the things we did that we wish we could redo. So really let that sink in. You have twice as much regret over the things you never did versus the things that you feel like, man, I messed up on that, I could have done a better job. That to me is so profound. So the biggest mistake of all is not taking action, not going for it. Because when you do go for it, you get to learn, you get to grow, you get to experience things. But when you don't, you stay stuck, you stay limited. Because we can learn and grow from our mistakes and our failures. That's called learning and growing. But we can never learn and grow if we let opportunity after opportunity slip by us. We must seize the dream inside of us, knowing that we may fail and mess up at times, but it's so much better than sitting on the sidelines and wondering what you could have experienced, what you could have done, and most importantly, who you could have become. This topic was pretty intense for me and got me to really reflect and think about things. If you want to explore this further, there's a link in the description to my partner Janell, and she can go over 8 blocks that are holding you back. If this is something you're interested in, just click the link at the top of the description and you will not regret it. Talk to you on the next video.